A champagne glass suddenly smashed against the marble wall just a couple of inches from Maya's face. She went completely still. The tray in her hands shook, and expensive wine slowly ran down the wall of the fancy VIP room at Azure Heights. The man who threw the glass was a rich investor from Wall Street. He was very drunk and very angry. He was already grabbing another bottle. His face was twisted with the kind of anger you see in drunk men who think their money gives them power. "Clumsy bitch," he slurred. Maya's heart pounded hard in her chest. She had seen this kind of situation before. She knew how it usually ended. She also knew her manager wouldn't stand up for her. Men like this were important. They spent a lot of money. They basically owned places like this. Then suddenly, a voice cut through the room, sharp and clear. "Touch her and you'll lose the hand." Maya quickly lifted her head to see who had spoken. The man who had spoken was standing in the doorway. He was tall and extremely handsome. He wore a dark gray suit that probably cost more than Maya's car. His face looked sharp and cold, almost like it was carved from ice. His eyes were very dark. He was Korean. He looked calm, powerful, and a little dangerous. So beautiful that for a second, Maya forgot how to breathe. His name was Kang Min-jun, but she didn't know that yet. What she did know was this: when he looked straight into her eyes, she felt a strange shock run down her back. It felt like electricity. The whole room suddenly felt unsteady. "Who the hell are you?" the angry investor shouted. He tried to stand taller, like an animal that feels threatened. Min-jun didn't even blink. He snapped his fingers once. Suddenly, two men in black suits appeared from nowhere. They grabbed the investor's arms quickly and professionally, like they had done this many times before. "I'm someone who owns this building," Min-jun said quietly. His voice was calm, but there was something dangerous in it. "And I don't like guests who don't know how to behave." About 30 seconds later, the drunk investor was gone. The other customers had somehow disappeared too. Now Maya was alone in the room with this stranger. The man who had just ended her nightmare with one simple gesture. Her hands were still shaking. "Are you hurt?" he asked. His English was perfect, but there was a soft accent in his voice that made her feel weak in the knees. She shook her head. She didn't trust herself to speak. He stepped closer. She smelled expensive cologne mixed with something darker and more intense. Her heart started beating faster. "What's your name?" he asked. "Maya." "Maya Brooks." "Maya." The way he said her name made it sound important. Private. Like it mattered. "Do you work here often?" "Every night. I take double shifts whenever I can." She started talking too fast. "I have student loans, rent to pay, and my younger sister has medical bills." She stopped suddenly, embarrassed. Why was she telling this stranger all of this? But Min-jun's face changed slightly. He looked like he understood. "How much do you need?" he asked. The question surprised her. "Excuse me?" "To fix your problems." "All of them." "How much money?" Maya's mind started calculating. Her sister Jasmine's treatment cost $150,000. Her student loans were $80,000. Then there was rent, food, and everything else. "About $300,000, she said quietly. It sounded crazy when she said it out loud. $3 million. He said it immediately. Calmly. Like he was talking about the weather. Maya felt like her heart stopped. "I'm sorry, what?" "I'll give you $3 million. He took out a business card and slid it across the bar toward her. "In exchange for a simple arrangement." This had to be a joke. Or something worse. I don't. "A wife," he said smoothly, cutting her off. "I need a wife. Temporarily." 6 months, maybe less. It would be a contract. Completely professional. At the end, you walk away with $3 million and your freedom. The room felt like it was spinning again. You want me to marry you? I don't even know you. It would be a marriage of convenience, he explained. My family expects me to settle down. They are pressuring me. If I don't, they might replace me as the head of the company. I need someone who can pretend to be my real wife. Someone they won't suspect is temporary. Why me? She asked. You could choose anyone. Because you're real, he said. When you looked at me, you didn't see my money or my power. You saw someone who stopped a bad situation. He paused. And because you need the money badly enough to think about this. But I can see you're also thinking about the risks. You're smart. I need that. Maya's phone buzzed. It was a message from Jasmine's hospital. Another bill. Another reminder that they were running out of time. What would I have to do? She asked slowly. Min-jun gave a small smile. You would move into my penthouse. Go to family dinners. Convince my very traditional and very suspicious grandmother that we are deeply in love. Learn enough about my life to act like my real partner. He leaned closer. She smelled his cologne again. It was strong and distracting. And most importantly, you must never actually fall in love with me. When 6 months are over, this ends. Completely. No drama. That's it? Just pretend and then leave? That's it, he said. But something in his voice made it sound like it wouldn't be that simple. Maya thought about Jasmine in the hospital. Thought about their dirty apartment with bugs. Thought about working endless double shifts and still being broke. $3 million. 6 months. One big lie. I have conditions, she heard herself say. Min-jun looked surprised for just a second. Go on. My sister's treatment starts immediately. You pay for it fully before anything else. My student loans are paid off before the wedding. And I want a written contract that says after 6 months, this is completely over. No extra favors. No hidden rules. A clean break. Min-jun studied her carefully. She didn't look away. Finally, he held out his hand. You negotiate well, Maya Brooks. I respect that. Do we have a deal? His hand felt warm and strong. When she placed her hand in his, she felt like her life had just changed. We have a deal. Good, he said, tightening his grip slightly. My grandmother is arriving in New York in 3 days. She expects to meet her future granddaughter-in-law at a family dinner. Do you think you can convince a powerful Korean grandmother that a waitress from Brooklyn is deeply in love with her grandson? Maya thought about everything she could lose. And everything she could gain. Watch me, she said. But Maya didn't know the full truth. Kang Min-jun was not just a rich businessman. He was the heir to one of the most powerful Korean-American crime families on the East Coast. His grandmother had built their empire through violence, loyalty, and strict control. She believed love was weakness. And Min-jun, who always planned everything carefully, had just made his first big mistake. Because sometimes, contracts signed out of desperation are impossible to break. Sometimes, lies told again and again start to feel real. And this was only the beginning. Maya's hands were shaking as she signed the 12th page of the contract. The pen felt heavy in her fingers, almost like it was a weapon instead of something small and harmless. Min-jun's lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Patricia Chen, watched every single word Maya wrote. She looked very serious, like a hawk watching its prey. That's the last one, Patricia said, neatly stacking the papers together. Mrs. Kang, congratulations. The title made Maya's stomach twist. Mrs. Kang. In 72 hours, that would officially be her name. The first money transfer has already started, Patricia continued. She slid a black credit card across the table toward Maya. This is for any immediate expenses. Mr. Kang has also arranged for a stylist to meet you at Bergdorf's at 2 o'clock. Maya stared at the black card like it might suddenly attack her. I can buy my own clothes, she said. Not for this, you can't, Min-jun replied. His voice was calm but firm. My grandmother notices everything. The way your dress is cut. The brand of your shoes. The jewelry. We cannot afford any mistakes. So I'm just supposed to turn into some perfect robot wife in 3 days? Maya snapped. She didn't mean to sound so angry, but she was scared. Min-jun looked directly at her. No, he said quietly. You will become a stronger version of yourself. One who can survive in my world long enough to leave it safely with what you need. That's different. Patricia cleared her throat. I'll leave you two to discuss the rest, she said. She placed a thick manila folder on the table and walked out. Her high heels clicked sharply against the marble floor. Min-jun didn't open the folder right away. Instead, he walked to the large windows that looked out over the Hudson River. The way he moved was smooth and controlled, almost like a predator. It made Maya's heart beat faster. Your sister started her first treatment this morning, he said, still facing the window. The hospital confirmed she is responding well. Maya stopped breathing for a second. How did you? I had my people arrange it while you were sleeping, he said. Jasmine Brooks. 22 years old. Acute lymphoblastic leukemia. St. Catherine's Medical Center. He finally turned around. The morning sunlight made his sharp features look softer. Almost kind. Almost human. You thought I would wait? He asked. I thought, Maya swallowed. I thought you'd want something to hold over me. To make sure I wouldn't back out before you spent the money. A dark look crossed his face. I do not use people that way when they have already kept their word, he said. You signed the contract. Your sister gets treatment. That was the agreement. He walked back to the table and finally opened the manila folder. Inside the folder were photographs. Dozens of them. The first one showed an older woman with silver hair. Her face looked smooth and hard, almost like it was carved from stone. Her eyes looked cold and powerful, like they could scare anyone. Another photo showed a younger man who looked a lot like Min-jun, but softer. Less strong. There was also a beautiful woman with a small smile that didn't look friendly, it looked calculating, like she was always thinking and planning. There were more people Maya didn't recognize, but something about them made her feel uneasy. Like they were important. And dangerous. Your new family, Min-jun said, laying the photos out across the table like fortune-telling cards predicting something bad. We'll start with the most important one. He tapped the photo of the silver-haired woman. Kang Hae-won. My grandmother. In 1975, she escaped from Seoul with almost nothing. Just her children and a diamond hidden inside her daughter's coat. Within 10 years, she built a shipping company that controlled half the ports on the East Coast. Within 20 years, she expanded into real estate, technology, and other businesses that don't officially exist. Maya's mouth felt dry. What kind of other businesses? She asked carefully. Min-jun smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. It was sharp. The kind that make $3 million seem like loose change. The kind that have very strict rules about family and loyalty. And very serious consequences for anyone who betrays them. Maya swallowed. Are you saying your grandmother is careful? His voice snapped like a whip. Walls have ears. Some things are safer not said out loud. He looked straight at her. What you need to understand is this, my grandmother built everything. And she protects it fiercely. She has seen every trick, every lie, every person who tried to marry into this family for money. She will test you. She will push you. She will try to break you. And if she even slightly suspects that our marriage is fake, she will ruin you so completely you'll wish you had never met me. That should have scared Maya into backing out. But instead, she felt something stubborn rise inside her. The same stubbornness that made her work double shifts instead of quitting when life got hard. Then I guess I'll just have to be very convincing, she said. Min-jun studied her face for a long moment. You're moving into my penthouse tonight, he said. We need time to create a believable story. We need to learn each other's habits. Make this look real. My grandmother is ruthless, but she's not stupid. She will ask questions. Where was our first kiss? How did I propose? What side of the bed do you sleep on? Our answers must match perfectly. What if I say no? Maya asked. What if I want to stay in my apartment until the wedding? Then that would be your first mistake. His voice became soft. But in a way that was more threatening than yelling. My grandmother has people watching me at all times. If they report that my fiancé is still living in a tiny apartment with roaches instead of with me, she'll know something is wrong. And if she knows something is wrong, the money stops. Your sister's treatment stops. And you go back to struggling and barely surviving. Is that what you want? Maya's hands curled into fists. You're blackmailing me, she said. I'm protecting both of us, Min-jun replied calmly. He leaned closer to her. Close enough that she could see tiny gold specks in his dark eyes. I chose you because you're smart enough to survive this, Maya, he said quietly. Don't prove me wrong by letting your pride make you do something stupid. That hurt. Because she knew he was right. Pride was something rich people could afford. She couldn't. Fine, she said. I'll move in tonight. But I have a condition too. I'm listening. You teach me everything. Not just how to dress or smile. I want to know about your family. Your business. Your world. If I'm going to convince your crime boss grandmother that I'm madly in love with you, I need to actually understand who you are. Deal? For the first time since she met him, Min-jun laughed. It sounded rough, like he didn't laugh very often. And when he did, it changed his whole face. He looked less dangerous. Almost human. Still very attractive, but softer. Crime boss, he said. You've been watching too many movies. Am I wrong? Maya asked. About the crime boss part or about teaching you everything? Both, he said. His smile slowly disappeared. His face became serious again. My grandmother's empire is complicated, he explained. It was built on connections, favors, and deals that don't always fit neatly into modern laws. Is some of it illegal? Probably. Is it organized crime in the way people imagine? That depends on how you define it. But one thing is certain, it's dangerous. And the less you truly know, the safer you are. But I will teach you enough to pass my grandmother's tests, he interrupted. You'll learn about family relationships, rules, and how to avoid obvious mistakes. But some things stay secret, Maya. For your protection. That should have made her feel safer. Instead, it felt like a warning. What aren't you telling me? She asked. His jaw tightened. For a second, she thought he might actually answer. Then his phone buzzed, and the moment ended. The car is waiting, he said, his voice turning professional again. Patricia will handle moving your belongings. Your stylist appointment is in an hour. And tonight, we're having dinner with my cousin Daniel. Let me guess, Maya said. Another test? Worse, Min-jun replied. He's the one person in the family who might realize this marriage isn't real. He buttoned his suit jacket neatly and carefully. Daniel is intelligent and very observant. He has been trying to take my place as my grandmother's heir for years. If he thinks we're pretending, he will use that information against both of us. What happens if he does? Maya asked quietly. The question seemed to hang in the air. Then the contract is cancelled, Min-jun said. You lose the money. Your sister loses the treatment. And I end up marrying whoever my grandmother chooses for me instead.
He stopped at the door and looked back at her. So tonight at dinner, he said, you need to convince Daniel that you're so deeply in love with me that you would fight the devil himself just to stay by my side. Do you think you can do that? Maya thought about her sister, Jasmine. About the medicine already going into her body. About how this money could save her. About how this deal was her way out of a life full of debt and struggle. She also thought about Min-jun. The same man who was saving her sister's life, and trapping her in his world at the same time. He was both her rescue and her prison. I can do better than that, she said. She looked straight into his eyes, using every bit of confidence she could find inside herself. I'll make him believe that you're the one who's desperately in love with me. Min-jun laughed again, but this time it sounded darker. There was something serious behind it. Maybe respect. Maybe a warning. Be careful, Maya Brooks, he said. In my world, that kind of confidence either makes you a queen, or gets you killed. Which one do you think I'll be? She asked. I haven't decided yet. He held the door open for her. Coming, Mrs. Kang. That name should have felt fake. Like she was just playing dress-up. But instead, it felt like something that was always meant to happen. Like the beginning of a future she couldn't escape. The personal shopping suite at Bergdorf Goodman felt like a completely different world. The walls were covered in soft cream-colored silk. There was expensive champagne sitting in ice buckets. Everything was quiet and fancy. The carpet was so soft that Maya felt embarrassed standing on it in her old sneakers. They looked loud and out of place. The stylist's name was Vivian. She had short platinum blonde hair cut perfectly straight and sharp eyes that noticed everything. She slowly walked around Maya, studying her like a hunter studying something it had just caught. Turn, Vivian said firmly. Maya turned in a small circle, suddenly very aware that she was still wearing her waitress uniform. You have good bone structure, Vivian said after a moment. Strong shoulders. A long neck. That's a good start. But we need to completely change how you present yourself. She snapped her fingers. 3 assistants appeared instantly, pushing racks of clothes that probably cost more than Maya had ever saved in her entire life. Mr. Kang was very clear, Vivian continued. You need to look like someone who grew up with old money but still has modern ideas. You need American confidence mixed with Korean elegance. You should look like you belong next to him, but not like you're trying to copy him. Sounds impossible, Maya muttered. Anything worth doing usually is, Vivian replied calmly. She pulled out a dark blue gown that seemed to glow under the lights. This is Valentino, she said. It has been altered specifically to fit you. You'll wear it to Friday's dinner with the grandmother. Maya's stomach tightened. 3 days. 3 days to turn from a tired waitress into a believable future wife of a powerful family. What if I can't do this? She asked before she could stop herself. Vivian's face softened just a little. May I give you advice, Ms. Brooks? She asked. Not as your stylist. But as someone who has dressed 3 of Mr. Kang's previous companions. Previous companions. The words hit Maya harder than she expected. Something uncomfortable twisted in her chest. Was it jealousy? Or just curiosity? I'm listening, Maya said carefully. Stop thinking of these clothes as a costume, Vivian said. They're not armor. They're not a disguise. They're tools. They help people see what is already inside you. Mr. Kang didn't choose you because he wanted someone who could pretend to be someone else. He chose you because something about who you already are fits what he needs. He chose me because I was desperate and convenient, Maya said quietly. Did he? Vivian's smile was small and knowing. Almost dangerous. I've worked with Mr. Kang for 5 years. I've dressed models, rich socialites, women who were born into his world. He has never asked me to build a completely new wardrobe for any of them. He has never requested this level of detail before. She looked directly at Maya. That tells me this matters to him more than he's willing to admit. Even to himself. Before Maya could really think about what Vivian had just said, the door opened. Min-jun walked in, still holding his phone to his ear. He looked at Maya in her waitress uniform. Then he looked at the dark blue gown hanging nearby. Something changed in his face for just a second, but it happened too fast for her to understand what it meant. I'll call you back, he said into the phone, then hung up. How's it going? He asked. We're making progress, Vivian said calmly. Although Ms. Brooks isn't completely sure about the dress for Friday. Show me, Min-jun said. It wasn't really a question. Vivian handed the gown to Maya and pointed to the private changing room. The dress felt cool and smooth when Maya put it on. The fabric was soft, like water sliding over her skin. It fit her perfectly, shaping to her body in a way that felt almost unfair. When she stepped back into the room, Vivian smiled for real this time. And Min-jun went completely still. Well? Maya asked, trying not to move too much. Do I look like someone your grandmother won't see through right away? Min-jun walked closer. His steps were quiet on the carpet. He stopped at a respectful distance, but close enough that she could feel his body heat. His eyes slowly moved over her, studying her in a way that made her heart beat faster. You look, he said quietly, like someone I might actually fall for. Which is either perfect, or a serious problem. I'm not sure which. The words hung in the air between them. Mr. Kang is right, Vivian said quickly, interrupting before the moment got too intense. This is the dress for Friday. But we still need outfits for cocktail events, casual appearances, and something special for the engagement announcement. Engagement announcement? Maya's voice came out higher than she meant it to. When were you planning to tell me about that? Tonight at dinner with Daniel, Min-jun replied. He was still looking at her with that unreadable expression. I'm telling the family this week. It has to be official. If we want the wedding in 6 weeks, this is the only timeline that works. 6 weeks? Maya grabbed the silk of the dress tightly. The contract said 6 months. 6 months of marriage, Min-jun corrected calmly. The wedding has to happen fast. If we wait too long, my grandmother will start investigating your past more deeply. Moving quickly is safer than taking our time. Maya wanted to argue. She wanted to push back. But Vivian was watching carefully. And the last thing Maya needed was for any disagreement to reach Min-jun's family. Fine, she said, forcing a smile that probably didn't look very real. 6 weeks to plan a fake wedding. What could go wrong? Min-jun's lips curved slightly, like he was impressed. That's my girl, he said. The next few hours felt like a blur. There was silk, cashmere, and leather so soft it almost felt wrong to touch. Vivian didn't slow down. She carefully built an entire wardrobe for Maya, like she was creating a character in a story Maya didn't fully understand yet. By the end of the afternoon, Maya had spent more money in a few hours than she had earned in 2 whole years. The drive to Connecticut made Maya's head spin in a completely different way. Min-jun's car was a sleek black Mercedes. The back seat didn't feel like a normal car at all. It felt like a small office on wheels. There were tablets built into the seats and folders full of important-looking papers. Daniel Kang, Min-jun began, pulling up pictures on his tablet. He's 32. He went to Harvard Business School. Right now, he runs our company's West Coast operations. He's smart. Very ambitious. And he believes my grandmother has been preparing him to take my place instead of me. Has she? Maya asked, studying the photo. Daniel looked a lot like Min-jun. He was tall and had similar sharp features. But his face looked softer. Less intense. That's complicated, Min-jun said. He swiped to another photo. This one showed Daniel standing next to a beautiful Korean woman. That's his wife, Catherine, Min-jun explained. They met at Harvard. They've been married for 5 years. They don't have children yet, and my grandmother is not happy about that. She sees it as a failure. Maya nodded slowly. She seems nice, Maya said carefully. She's polite on the surface, Min-jun replied. But she's been encouraging Daniel to challenge me for leadership of the family business for years. So basically, Maya said, they're going to hate me. Probably, Min-jun answered honestly. Strangely, his honesty made her feel a little better. But that actually helps us, he continued. If they act hostile toward you, and you defend our relationship, it will look more real. Just don't let Daniel trick you into saying something that doesn't match our story. Our story? Maya repeated. We met 4 months ago at a charity event I hosted for children's hospitals, Min-jun said. You accidentally spilled wine on my jacket. You apologized over and over. I found it charming. We've been dating secretly since then because I wanted to be sure about you before introducing you to my family. Maya listened carefully, memorizing every detail. She noticed that parts of it were close to the truth. She had spilled wine on someone before. She did care about children's hospitals. What about my real background? She asked. You tell the truth, Min-jun said. You got a scholarship to NYU. You work hard to support yourself and your sister. You don't come from money or powerful connections, but you're proud of how much you've achieved on your own. My grandmother respects strength and hard work. She started with nothing too. What she hates is lying, not being poor. Maya took a deep breath. Then the estate in Connecticut came into view. It looked like something from a movie, huge, beautiful, and intimidating. The house in Connecticut looked huge and old-fashioned, with big white columns and wide green lawns that seemed to go on forever. It looked calm and beautiful on the outside. Daniel and Catherine were standing at the front entrance waiting for them. They looked perfect together, like they had planned their outfits. They were smiling, but their smiles didn't reach their eyes. Min-jun, Daniel called out. He stepped forward and hugged him like a loving cousin. It looked warm and friendly, but something about it felt fake. Like he was acting. And this must be the mysterious woman who finally captured my cousin's attention, Daniel added, turning to Maya. All good things, I hope, Maya said calmly. Min-jun's hand rested on the small of her back. It felt protective. And also a little possessive. All interesting things, Catherine said sweetly. But her smile was sharp, almost like she was making fun of her. Come in, Catherine continued. Dinner is almost ready. And we're very curious to hear how you two actually met. Dinner felt like a quiet battle. Daniel asked questions that sounded normal but were clearly meant to catch her in a lie. Catherine made comments that sounded polite but were almost insults. And through all of it, Maya had to act like she was deeply in love with Min-jun. She was doing all of this while wearing shoes that cost $4,000. So, Maya, Daniel said during the main course. Min-jun told us you work in hospitality. Which hotels have you worked for? It was a trap. If she said she managed hotels, that would be a lie. If she admitted she was just a waitress, they might look down on her. But Maya had spent her whole life dealing with people who underestimated her. I've actually worked more in service than management, she said smoothly. I've been working while finishing my degree. It's given me a real understanding of how the industry works from the ground up, not just from the business side. She let her Brooklyn accent show a little more instead of hiding it. Min-jun likes that I understand hard work because I've lived it, not just studied it, she added. She felt Min-jun's hand tighten slightly on her shoulder. A small sign of approval. That's what I love about her, Min-jun said. His voice sounded warmer than she had ever heard it before. Maya doesn't pretend to be someone she's not. In a world where everyone is constantly performing, her honesty is. He paused. When Maya looked up at him, the expression on his face made her heart skip. It's extraordinary, he finished softly. For a second, everything else disappeared. The tension. The fake smiles. The danger. It felt real. How romantic, Catherine said dryly, ruining the moment. Although I'm surprised your grandmother approved so quickly. She's usually very particular. Halmoni hasn't met Maya yet, Min-jun admitted. That happens on Friday. But I'm confident she'll see what I see. And what exactly is that? Daniel asked. Maya noticed Min-jun's jaw tighten just slightly. She could see him thinking carefully about his answer. And in that moment, Maya made a decision that would change everything. Maya stood up and walked around the table toward Min-jun. Then she kissed him. Not the careful, practiced kiss they had gone over before. Not the one that looked perfect on cue. This one was real. Fierce. Claiming. Full of everything that wasn't in the script. When she pulled back, Min-jun's eyes were dark, black, almost, with something that wasn't acting. The entire room went silent. He sees someone worth fighting for, Maya said quietly, her voice steady even though her heart felt like it was going to burst out of her chest. Someone who sees him for more than his name, his money, or his family's expectations. And I see the same thing in him. She turned to Daniel and Catherine. Her smile was sharp, showing all her teeth. So yes, we're different. Yes, it's fast. Yes, your grandmother might hate me. But I'm not going anywhere. Because some things are worth fighting for. And he. She looked back at Min-jun, saw her own shock reflected in his expression. Is worth everything. The silence that followed was so heavy it could have crushed diamonds. Then Daniel laughed. Actually laughed. He raised his wine glass toward her. Well then, he said. Welcome to the family, Maya. Something tells me Friday's dinner is going to be absolutely fascinating. The car ride was quiet. The tension was so thick it felt like you could cut it with a knife. Min-jun hadn't said a single word since they left the estate. His hands gripped the steering wheel tightly. His jaw was clenched. Finally, as they crossed back into the city, Maya couldn't stay quiet any longer. I'm sorry about the kiss, she said. It wasn't planned. I just thought. Stop. Min-jun's voice was rough. Strained. He suddenly pulled the car over to the side of the road. Without warning, he turned to face her. The intensity in his eyes stole her breath. That kiss. That speech, he said, his voice low. That was either the best acting I've ever seen, or what? Maya whispered. Min-jun reached out. His fingers barely touched her jaw. The gentleness of that small touch somehow felt more powerful than anything else. Or we're both in a lot more trouble than $3 million can fix, he said. Maya sat there, in the dark car, feeling his fingers on her skin and the city lights blurring past outside. She realized something terrifying. The real danger wasn't about convincing his family they were in love. The real danger was that somewhere between the contract, the act, and this exact moment, the lines between pretending and feeling had started to disappear. And neither of them knew how to stop it.
The penthouse was a fortress of glass and steel 70 floors above Manhattan, with views that made the city look like scattered diamonds. Maya stood at the windows, still wearing the cocktail dress from dinner, trying to process that this was supposed to be home. Behind her, Min-jun poured himself a glass of whiskey. His movements were calm and exact, like he was focusing very hard on staying in control. Your room is the second door on the left, he said without turning around. It has its own bathroom. The closet is already filled with clothes. If you need anything, tell Mrs. Park. She's the housekeeper. She comes every morning at 7. Does she know about us? Maya asked. About the arrangement? She knows what everyone else knows, he replied. That you're my fiancé. He finally turned to face her. The city lights behind him made him look unreal. Almost like a character from a dream. Or maybe a nightmare. The fewer people who know the truth, the safer we are, he added. Right. Safe. Maya let out a short, dry laugh. Because this feels extremely safe. It's not supposed to, Min-jun said. He walked closer. Maya noticed his tie was gone and the top button of his shirt was undone. He looked more relaxed. More human. But somehow more dangerous too. But you knew this was risky when you signed the contract, he said. I knew I was desperate, Maya corrected. That's different. It's one thing to know something is dangerous. It's another thing to actually live inside the danger. She looked around at the huge penthouse. This isn't my world, Min-jun. I don't know how to be the kind of person who lives here. Then stop trying to be someone else, he said. Just be Maya Brooks, who happens to live here now. He set his glass down and stepped closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne. The woman who kissed me tonight, he continued, the one who stood up to Daniel and Catherine without fear, that woman belongs anywhere she chooses to be. Believe that. His words hit something deep inside her. A part of her that had spent years feeling like she wasn't good enough. You don't know me well enough to say that, she said quietly. Maybe not, Min-jun replied, giving her a small, knowing smile. But I recognize desperation. I've lived it too. Just in a different form. Before she could ask what he meant, his phone buzzed. He looked at the screen, and his whole body changed. His shoulders tightened. His jaw clenched. The calm mask he wore slipped back into place. I have to take this, he said. It's Halmoni. He answered in fast Korean. His voice sounded different, respectful, careful. There was something else in it too. Something that felt a little like fear. Maya watched Min-jun walk toward the big windows while he was still on the phone. He started pacing back and forth, one hand in his pocket, the other moving slightly as he spoke in Korean. Nah, Halmoni. Friday at 8. Nah, I'll bring her. Saranghio. He ended the call and stayed there for a moment, just staring out at the city lights below. Finally, he spoke. She wants to meet earlier, he said. Tomorrow. Not Friday. Maya felt her stomach drop. Why? Daniel called her right after we left, Min-jun said. His voice was calm, but tight. Now she's too curious to wait. The way he said it made it clear this was not good. Did he tell her we're pretending? Maya asked, her heart starting to race. Worse, Min-jun replied. He told her we're perfect together. Maya blinked. That's bad? Yes, Min-jun said flatly. Daniel never compliments me without a reason. If he said we're perfect, my grandmother will assume he's setting something up. Now she's suspicious. He turned to face her again. The city lights behind him made his face look dark and sharp, like it was carved out of shadow. My grandmother is going to test you tomorrow, he said. Not casually. Seriously. And if you fail, if she even slightly believes this isn't real, the contract ends. Everything falls apart. The weight of that settled on Maya's shoulders. What kind of tests? She asked quietly. The kind you can't study for, Min-jun said. He picked up his drink and finished it in one swallow. She'll ask about my childhood. My favorite foods. My habits. Small details only someone close to me would know. She'll watch how we look at each other. How we touch. She'll try to see if we're acting. He paused. And she'll investigate you. Your past. Your reasons for being with me. She'll look for weaknesses. Lies. Anything she can use. Maya swallowed. Tomorrow. Everything would be decided tomorrow. So basically, I'm in serious trouble, Maya said as she dropped down onto the leather couch. I've only known you for 2 days. How am I supposed to make your grandmother believe we've been dating for months? By learning fast, Min-jun said. He sat down next to her, so close their knees almost touched. We have tonight. I'll tell you everything about me that a real girlfriend would know. You tell me everything about you. We turn this from acting into something that feels real. And if it doesn't work, she asked. Then tomorrow night, you go back to Brooklyn. And by the weekend, I'll be engaged to Sunhee Park. The name made Maya feel sick inside. The woman your grandmother picked for you? She asked. Yes. She's a family friend. I've known her since we were kids. She speaks perfect Korean. She knows all the right people. She would never embarrass my family or ask hard questions. His voice sounded empty. She's exactly what a perfect Kang wife should be. That sounds horrible, Maya said. It would be. He looked at her seriously, and she saw something honest and hurt in his eyes. That's why we can't fail tomorrow. Deal? Maya thought about Jasmine. About the medical treatment already happening. About finally being free. About the powerful, dangerous man sitting right next to her. Deal, she said. Where do we start? With the truth. Min-jun stood up, took off his jacket, and rolled up his sleeves. We ask real questions and give real answers. No acting. No script. I ask you something, you answer honestly. Then you ask me something. We keep going until we know each other well enough to make this believable. Truth for truth, Maya agreed, kicking off her expensive high heels. You go first. Min-jun was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke softly, but there was something intense in his voice. Why did you really say yes? And don't just say money. There are other ways to get money. Why this? Why me? The question hit her harder than she expected. Because I was tired, Maya finally said. Tired of fighting alone. Tired of always being strong. Tired of watching my sister suffer while I worked non-stop and it still wasn't enough. When you offered me this deal, it wasn't just about money. It meant someone else would carry the weight for a while. Even if it was fake. Even if it only lasted 6 months. For 6 months, I wouldn't have to do everything alone. That was worth the risk. Min-jun's face changed. He looked like he understood. My turn? Maya asked. He nodded. She wanted to ask about his family's criminal connections and all the danger around him. But instead, she asked something simpler. Why did you choose me? Really? There must have been hundreds of women who would have said yes. Women who already know your world. Why pick a random waitress you met by accident? Min-jun stayed quiet for a long time. She thought he wouldn't answer. Finally, he spoke, and his voice sounded rough. Because you looked at me like I was just a person. Everyone else sees Kang Min-jun, the rich heir, the businessman, the future leader. They see what I can give them. But when I helped that investor and you looked at me, you just saw someone who helped you. No hidden plan. Just real gratitude. That almost never happens. He walked to the window and put his hand on the glass. I've been around people who are acting my whole life. Every smile, every conversation, every relationship is calculated. And I act too, because that's how you survive in my world. But when I met you, and you didn't know who I was, I thought maybe for 6 months, I could stop acting too. His words felt fragile, like something that could easily break. Maya walked over to him. Are we still acting right now? She asked quietly. Min-jun turned toward her. He looked confused and a little scared, just like she felt. I don't know anymore. That kiss tonight, and how angry I got every time Daniel talked down to you. I can't tell where the contract ends and something real begins. Min-jun. Your turn, he interrupted gently. Ask me something real. Maya thought fast. What happens if we fail tomorrow? What does your grandmother do to people who lie to her? Min-jun's jaw tightened. For the first time, she saw real fear on his face. She destroys them. Completely. If she can do it legally, she will. If not, she finds other ways. She built everything on loyalty and honesty. Betrayal is the one thing she never forgives. He paused. 3 years ago, one of my cousins tried to steal money. My grandmother didn't just fire him. She made sure he couldn't work in any industry our family controls, which is almost all of them. Last I heard, he was teaching English in Montana and still scared. Wow, Maya whispered. What would she do to me? Nothing that extreme. You're not family. She'd just make your life very hard. Freeze your bank accounts. Ruin your job chances. Maybe create legal problems that are hard to prove but impossible to fight. You'd struggle for the rest of your life, just like before, but knowing what you lost. And you? I'd marry Sunhee. Continue the family line. And spend the rest of my life wondering what it would have felt like to choose for myself. His voice sounded defeated. They stood in silence. Finally, Min-jun went back to the couch. We have about 8 hours before sunrise. I need to teach you everything about my life that a real fiancé would know. Maya sat down again, hugging a pillow. Okay. Teach me how to love you in a way that looks real. Something flashed in his eyes. That's a dangerous way to say that. This whole situation is dangerous, she replied. Fine. Truth. He leaned back. I hate coffee but love tea. Especially Korean barley tea my grandmother used to make. I have a scar on my shoulder because Daniel pushed me out of a tree when we were 10. I speak 4 languages, but I dream in Korean. I'm allergic to shellfish, which is funny because of our family business. I have trouble sleeping, so you might hear me walking around at 3 a.m. Wait, Maya said. Your family business is shipping, right? What does that have to do with shellfish? He smiled slightly. Our shipping company started because my grandmother secretly brought expensive Korean seafood into America, things like abalone and sea cucumber. Rich people paid a lot for it. Later we expanded into other things. But she still serves seafood at every family gathering to remind us where we started. And you're allergic to the thing that made your family rich, Maya said. That's kind of poetic. It's just annoying, he said, but he sounded warmer now. Your turn. Tell me about the real Maya Brooks. Maya took a deep breath. My real first name is Amaya. I hate it. I've gone by Maya since I was 12. I'm allergic to cheap perfume, but I love expensive vanilla candles I can't afford. I wanted to be a doctor, but I couldn't afford medical school while taking care of Jasmine. I'm scared of thunderstorms because when I was 7, we lived in a basement apartment that flooded. Her voice cracked. Min-jun gently took her hand. Keep going, he said softly. I sing when I'm nervous. It annoyed my roommates, but it helped me get through long work shifts. I've never been in love because I've never had time. Most men see me as either something to win or someone to fix. I refuse to be either. She looked into his eyes. I'm scared that pretending for 6 months will make me forget who I really am. And I'm also scared that it won't. He gently rubbed his thumb over her wrist. I understand that. Acting for so long that you don't know what's real anymore. Is this real? She whispered. This moment? I think so, he said honestly. Or maybe we're just very good at pretending. I really don't know. They stayed like that, holding hands, city lights shining around them. Then his phone buzzed. It's Mrs. Park, he said. She's confirming tomorrow. Breakfast at 8. We leave for my grandmother's estate at 9:30. Lunch with the whole family at noon. His jaw tightened. Everyone will be there. Uncles, aunts, cousins. All of them have opinions about who I should marry. Great, Maya said nervously. Any advice? Yes. He stood up and pulled her to her feet. He didn't let go of her hand. Don't try to be what you think they want. My grandmother respects strength more than obedience. Honesty more than perfect manners. Be the woman who stood up to Daniel tonight. The woman who kissed me like she had every right to. Be Maya Brooks, the woman who survived impossible things and kept fighting. That's who I chose. That's who might survive tomorrow. Maya felt exhausted. I should sleep, she said. Big day. They'll love you, Min-jun said, but he sounded like he was trying to convince himself. And if they don't? Then we face it together. He let go of her hand. Your room has everything you need. If something's missing, text me. My room is at the end of the hall. Min-jun? Maya stopped at the entrance of the hallway. Yeah, he answered. Thank you. For tonight. For being honest. For everything. He smiled at her. It wasn't a fake smile. It wasn't guarded. It was real. Thank you for not running away screaming after you found out my family is basically like a Korean crime drama in real life. Give me time, Maya joked. Tomorrow might still make me run. But as she walked to the bedroom she was staying in, she knew she wasn't going to run. She took off the expensive dress and put on something comfortable. Then she climbed into the soft bed. The sheets probably cost more than her old car. As she lay there, she realized something important. She wasn't staying because of the contract. She wasn't staying because of the money. She was staying because, sometime during the last 2 days, she had started to care about Min-jun. The dangerous, complicated man sleeping in a room down the hall. And that was the real danger. Some contracts don't really end, even when the time is up. Sometimes pretending turns into something real without you noticing. And sometimes even a fake marriage can change your heart. Tomorrow, she would meet his whole family. But tonight, she would lie in the dark and think about when she had stopped pretending to fall for Kang Min-jun, and when she had actually started to.